Welcome to Swag, some wisdom and gear from college admission leaders. Today we are joined by Jon Burdick, who is the Vice Provost for Enrollment at Cornell University. Welcome, Jon.
Glad to be here, Brennan. Nice to see you all.
Yeah. Today, I'd love for you to start by giving us kind of an overview of Cornell and an elevator pitch and why students should consider Cornell.
Sure. Cornell is this university that sort of intersects with all other kinds of universities in pretty interesting ways. It is the land grant institution for the state of New York. That was a part of its founding, which means it supports all kinds of activities, economic activities, and professions across the state of New York, the way any big 10 school might do or any big UC school might do. At the same time, it's part of the Ivy League. It's a private university with a very deliberate elite level of qualifications for research and for teaching, and pretty middle-sized, about 16,000 undergraduate students in total across, and then graduate students about 8,000 across 3 campuses in New York City, in Qatar, and then by far the biggest amount here in Ithaca, New York. That picture behind you see is my dog looking over the hills of Cayuga Lake in Ithaca, which is one of the most beautiful spots in the world to be. So Cornell has this uncommon aspect of being a major research university and recognized as such worldwide, but being in a relatively smaller population area, basically a small city that's like a little slice of a New York City or a Boston, but about 40 miles from the nearest interstate and surrounded by hiking and trails, 150 waterfalls, lake activities, a beautiful place to be outdoors, even while you get all the resources of a major university.
And no promises you'll meet Jon's dog, but you might run into them on the trails.
You will absolutely meet my dog, because my dog and I walk on campus every day.
That's great. Well, let's jump into kind of a lightning round of questions. And I want to begin with one unique program offered at Cornell.
So Cornell offers a lot of unique programs, but one that always catches my attention because it's not very common, and yet it's an incredibly important aspect of Cornell. We have about 120 plant scientists in the School of Integrative Plant Sciences. It's the leading research activity for this in the world. Of course, they're doing a lot of stuff related to climate change and global warming and the need to feed people, and delivering attributes and understanding we have out of plants and plant sciences. So if you're a bit of a science nerd and you've got an area of interest that would lead you down that path, there's no other place to be. There are many such activities at Cornell, and they're unique in general. They're particularly unique among Northeastern U.S. Ivy League type universities, and so some opportunities that you don't have elsewhere.
That's cool. What about one fun tradition at Cornell?
So I came to Cornell just exactly 2 years ago, so I haven't had a chance to enjoy this yet, but I understand that there's something wonderful called the Dragon Dance, and it's sort of the architecture students versus the civil engineering students, and they design these elaborate constructed, I think, paper mache or whatever dragons that they drag overhead with teams of 30 or 40 and run all around campus. So it's supposedly it would make sense. It's a really, really colorful day, and campus people turn out from all the classrooms and buildings and libraries to watch these teams race. That's
cool. So obviously a beautiful lake behind you, but on campus, what's your favorite spot?
I have so many, and this view around Ithaca, both on campus and off, is one of the spectacular things. You've got a lot of elevation at Ithaca. There's something called the Ithacavs, where students walk up and down hills a lot, so they get stronger in their leg muscles. But there's a view that I think people are less likely to see, but is stunning, which is the Cornell Botanical Gardens. Especially in winter, when you might imagine people are more likely to stay indoors due to snow and ice, you can actually go out and have this 15, 20-mile view from a high spot overlooking the lake and the pond and the trees of the Cornell Botanical Gardens, and looking northeast across a large swath of central New York. Really incredible, outstanding vista. Wow,
that's cool. So let's kind of back off Cornell specific for a moment and go more macro. And, obviously you've been quoted a lot in the admission world and things like that, and have a great perspective on things. So I'd love to hear kind of what you see as the greatest myth about college admission.
The greatest myth, and it shows up in a variety of ways, but it's this idea that some kind of pre-described formulaic approach is going to get me significantly closer to getting admitted or to get me guaranteed admission. That's almost never true. And where it's more likely to be true is where it doesn't mean as much to you because the admission rates are higher. So one of the things I wish I could tell students and families, and I do tell them this all the time, but I don't know that they listen, is please don't try to make yourself into somebody who's a better Cornell candidate. Just please be who you are, do what you love doing, do it well, get better at it over time, and that may turn out to be a fit. Our admit rate last year for regular decision applications was 5%. That's almost close to winning a lottery ticket. That's not getting over a threshold line that you can define in advance. Be yourself, and then we will find a way to match that up if we possibly can.
That's a great point. There's no secret sauce to Cornell.
No, it's not getting straight A's and it's not getting super high test scores. It's none of those things. It's a lot more to it than that.
Great advice. Yeah. So what's one truth about college admission?
Well, I think it's true that college admission still depends a lot on looking at students one at a time. Some of that can be improved when you have the chance to visit with admissions counselors, to talk to your guidance counselors and your college counselors who know the admissions counselors in office as well, to visit if you can. Visiting is hard right now at Cornell in many places, and we only want people to do that when it's safe. But that idea of having a really personal interaction to help guide your thinking, not necessarily to try to get in easier, but to guide your thinking well about why you want to be at that college and what you would do there. Particularly at Cornell, to come here and see campus is to either fall in love or to recognize that this is just not for you. And I'd encourage students to explore that chance at every college campus they might consider attending.
Yeah, that's a great point. So now more than ever, access and affordability is really important to many families. And so do you have, something students should know about access and affordability?
Well, there's two big camps on affordability of access, and it's kind of important to recognize that. One is there's a lot of colleges, including almost all the public colleges in the United States and many other places beside. They'll admit you without any reference or understanding about what you can afford. So they are need blind in an absolute sense. They're not considering that aspect. And that may be valuable for you if you think that you're going to have the need for some assistance and some aid. On the other hand, many of those places do not meet your full needs. So that's another category of university to look at, a place that says, if we admit you, we might pay attention to whether you need something or not. But if we admit you, knowing you need something, we're pledged to make sure that your need is met through all 4 years. That's a big difference. Now, there are 20 or 30 places maybe in total that do both, at least for US students, and a very small handful that do it even for international students. So valuable to look at those places where you neither have to compete against students based on money, nor do you have to worry about whether the money in sport's going to be there. But otherwise, you kind of look down the line at one or the other of those lanes and decide which one matters and is best for you.
Yeah, and to be clear about which one's which and to know their policies, I think is really important. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's something that colleges and universities should say right up front in their website. They should be clear about whether they're need blind, whether they meet need, or less commonly, but there's quite a few around, do both.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, last question. And you mentioned earlier about the importance of visiting campus. What's the best question a student should ask when taking a campus tour, and what would be your answer for Cornell?
I think the best question is, what do you see as changing 3 years from now? I rarely, if ever, see students and parents asking that question. They're sort of looking at a place as it is. And the truth is, you're not only potentially buying into this place for maybe 4 or even 5 years in some programs, you're buying into it for a lifetime. So you want to understand that this is a place that's got a future, it's got a plan, it's got a vision, not that it's just sort of getting by year with the teaching that they have to do, but really has some ideas about what it wants to do in the future. Now, research universities have usually a good, ready answer to this, but any college or university with any kind of mission should have some sense of where they're going over a 3, 4, 5 year span, and it's valuable to try and get that information from them.
So where's Cornell going in 3 years?
Actually, your last question about affordability is a big part of Cornell. We will be launching a fundraising campaign. Every place like Cornell is always fundraising, and a big focus point and fraction for that fundraising activity is try to make sure that we are ready to support the next generation of socioeconomic diversity. And I really want to state that we've thought this through. It's both middle income students and low income students. And our point in doing this is that for every student, whether you're paying the full price in tuition or not, you really want an opportunity to be on a campus like this with people who come from all different backgrounds. That's an expensive proposition, but it's well worth it for your own experience as well as for those students who do need the help to be there. And if you can find a university that commits that way, and Cornell is among those choosing to embrace that priority at the highest possible level.
That's crucial. Thanks. All right, that's the wisdom. Now it's time for the gear. Let us reach into the swag bag and see what you got for us.
Hope we sent some good stuff.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that makes sense. A fleecy blanket for Cornell. Yeah.
Cornell fleece blanket for those cold upstate New York winters. This is great.
You can sit in Schwarzkopf Stadium and watch the Cornell Big Red football team win a game and put that over your lap.
Go Big Red. Well, Cornell is donating this great item to an organization promoting access and equity in admissions. So thank you so much, Jon, and thanks for the wisdom and the gear. And we'll see you next time on Swag from the College Guidance Network.
Thanks, Brennan, and thanks, everybody.